everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Kimberell, and this is my friend Uranian, who is going to be talking to us today about the world fires, including the Amazon fires. And I wanted to make this video because I really wanted to educate people on what's happening. Uranian can give us a lot of insight into why these fires are occurring, and also to give us some hope too, because there are a lot of things that we can start doing now and really changing our lifestyles and changing the way that we use wood. Hopefully you saw my video about the bamboo and the different types of benefits that bamboo can offer us in the future and in the present as well. And so today's video is kind of like a piggyback onto that idea of what we can do to stop these fires or to prevent them in the future, and some of the more serious effects of having these types of fires. So I'll let Uranian introduce himself and tell us a little bit about yourself and your kind of background. And you've been on my channel before, so some people have recognized you, I'm sure. But yeah.
Yep, I'm Iranian. I've been a climate scientist for a while. I recently finished my PhD. I'm studying forest growth and how climate change and environmental factors influence tree growth. And I'm also connecting into the Elven path. I discovered Kimberell's channel about 18 months ago or so, and we've been friends pretty much ever since. And I'm enjoying the wisdom that is on the channel, and I'm happy to be back.
Yes, Uranian is one of our honored Elven Spiritual Path community members. So I'm happy to have him, and maybe one day he'll take over and head a chapter. We'll see. I just added that, no pressure, but but yeah, it's been, I think, a hard few weeks for a lot of people that connect to nature like you and I. And for those of you who are new to my channel, I'm an elven soul. I've had past lives as an elf. I have come into this earth with a blueprint of an elf, and I definitely connect to nature, and I'm an elemental spirit in a human body. And I believe that wholeheartedly, and that's part of my mission and my purpose and my drive. And that's what I hope to do more on my channel, is to bring more of a nature connection to human beings so that they can get reconnected to nature, because through the industrial period and through the technology age, we have lost that connection to nature. I love technology, I do. I mean, I'm using YouTube, and I have Echo Dot to help me turn off my lights and things like that. But I do feel that there has been a sacrifice that humans have made when it comes to technology. And I believe as an idealist that we can have more of a deeper connection to nature and technology. So that's really what my channel is about. And as we experience more climate changes and things like that, I feel that my channel is going to take on more of those serious earth topics, and just be another voice for the planet. And Uranian is one. He's actually writing a few papers and trying to get those published, and he's going for your doctorate, right?
Yeah, I recently finished my doctorate, and I'm now a postdoc. So I'm doing some additional research while finishing up publications of my previous research.
Bravo, well done. That's great. Congratulations on that.
Yeah.
So I thought that it would be kind of fun today if we started off with a really powerful video, and we were going to watch it with all of you and review it together, and just do a video response at the end. So I think we're going to watch this video, and then we'll talk a little bit more about what's going on and everything. Okay? So hopefully everybody's ready here. Okay.
uma falsidade pra gente, né? Quando crise.
Even if you can't hear, it might be okay because the captions are powerful.
Não destruição. Essas aves, elas tinham vida. Elas precisavam de estar vivas para alguns lugar.
Eu penso que na futura geração dos nossos filhos, dos nossos netos, não pode respirar o mesmo ar que a gente está respirando hoje. Se não tiver alguma preservada, alguma pessoa que está morando lá dentro, talvez não vai existir mais.
Todos esses anos a gente resistiu aqui. Quando na estrada não tinha condições, quando chegou o mês de rio, quando chegou as invasões. A cada dia que passa que nós vemos a destruição avançar, desmatamento, as invasões, extração de madeira, quer dizer, uma falsidade para a gente, mas quando crise também. É uma causa minha vida, assim, dizer mais aqui, chuvar o poste, como eu falei, se for preciso, ele derramar até a minha última gota de sangue. Meu pai, a gente fica entristecido, porque a floresta morre, ela não clima, né, mudando. Não precisa da floresta. Não precisa da floresta. Nossos filhos precisam da floresta.
Okay. Yeah, that one is a very powerful video. I just wanted to watch that with everyone because not only are we losing animals in the fire and we're losing much of the plants and everything, we're also losing a valuable habitat for the native tribes that live within there. And we were talking about it before that we think that when these people's homes are taken, it's almost like having the elves and the fairies leave once again, you know, losing that part of the nature spirits. And then we would have to, it's like when we lose those people, then unfortunately, then all we'll have left is more of the modern, you know, the elves, the fairy souls, the nature lovers, the ones like you and I. But it's the native tribes that really bring that spirit of connection to nature. And those are the ones that are really affected by deforestation because they actually live in the forest. They are like the Mirkwood elves and the Lothlorien elves. And it's so sad for them. So I'm definitely thinking about them. My thoughts are with them as well. And can you tell us a little bit more about the science of what is going on? And also, you know very much about like the politics, and you've been looking more into this a little bit deeper. You want to tell us a little bit about what you know?
Well, so the deforestation of the Amazon has been going for quite a long time, since about the 70s. That's when it started, when they started building roads going into the rainforest and started building farms. Very small scale at the beginning. However, by around 2000, there was some 20,000 acres or 20,000 square kilometers of forest is being destroyed every year. And it reached a peak around 2003. And then where they're just, you can just look down from a satellite and just see where the roads are. And then you see all the swaths that have been cut away from the road, where they've been putting in farms and ranches to grow beef and to grow like palm oil and soy. So, but these lands don't really produce. So you get maybe a year or two of crops, or the ranching maybe lasts maybe 5 years before the soil is just totally depleted in nutrients. So they have to go and clear some more. And however, beginning around 2003 or so, they started putting in policy. It's like, we got to restrict this. So it was actually deforestation rate. We're still seeing deforestation, but the amount of deforestation every year was declining until this year. And then in this year, 2019, we're seeing twice as much, almost like 88% more deforestation than there was in 2018.
I would say that that's definitely human greed, and
Yeah.
I can feel that the particular president doesn't care about nature, and also reflects certain other individuals in America that don't have concern about nature, and I have heard even their friends, and so that partnership, the greed, and the partnership with the corporations is what probably has made this escalate. Would you agree?
Yeah. Basically, it's like the government before Bolsonaro was more environmentally conscious, but now it's like he basically said, you can go clear as much as you want. We're not going to fine you. I mean, I know that we're going to get the full story more on the politics, in a few months, perhaps. Maybe it'll be more sorted out, but this is what I've heard. I don't know how much of it is true, but I mean, it kind of makes sense based on what we're seeing the government of current executive powers in Brazil doing now. And
Yeah.
and we're seeing basically he's green lighting more development for farms and especially mining. So they're looking for minerals and oil. Apparently there's oil reserves within the Amazon as well.
That's what I was going to say. There seems to be this deeper partnership with the oil companies. I mean, we saw that with the Dakota pipeline, and now we're seeing it now even more. And it's interesting because there has been so much evidence that we need to get away from oil. We need to get away from those types of, finite type of resources. And yet it's increasing. I mean, the corporations and the different types of ties that they have as lobbyists with our government and with other governments, world governments, is just, it's getting stronger, and yet our nature is, I mean, it's depleting itself. It's really sad to see, and I don't know what it will take for them to wake up, because they live on this earth as well. And it's more like just an instant gratification idea, but because they make money, obviously, but at the same time, they're not seeing the long effects of it.
Yeah, I mean, they live in multi-million-dollar homes, ivory towers, whatever you want to call them, where they just they have the money to really not be affected by the climate change or the global warming, or they can ride it out. They have the resources to do so, but eventually it'll come around and bite them. But I mean, that's
I have a comment from Earth Angel. She said, "You're right on the politics." She's Brazilian, so it seems like a lot of Brazilians. Okay. I've seen a lot of comments, about Bolsonaro. Is that his name?
Bolsonaro, yeah. Bolsonaro.
Yeah, he's the one that has been changing the system, and so a lot of the Brazilians that are very earth conscious and aware, I've been seeing them protest. I mean, they don't like it either, because in a way it is a little bit of like what happened when the Republican Party took over eventually and started to cut a lot of the environmental programs, and appointed somebody of the EPA that didn't believe in climate change, which was a big problem.
Brazil did the same thing. They fired their remote sensing director for like their NASA program, basically, where he was the one that first reported that deforestation, it's up like it was at peak, 2003 this year, and I believe he was let go or fired last month. He was the first one that called out the government that we're deforesting far higher than previous years.
That's very strange. It is a little like fascism, where one opinion is trying to be pushed, and if you have anything to say against it, as far as the climate change, you're out of there. It is a little bit fascist. It really is. And it has to do with nature and environmental, preservation. And I'm not sure why. I have some ideas, and I don't really want to get into it too much here because they can be a little bit dark and sometimes negative in terms of some of the opinions that I have of why this is happening. But at the same time, I do think that this is happening on a spiritual level to kind of change everybody's mindset and their own kind of lifestyle that they have, because I'll read later, there's lots of things that we as individuals can do. And although we are not head of these corporations and we don't, run the politics and things like that, we still can do a lot in our own lives. And so, I guess really all we can do is just come together as people. And I've seen a lot of videos speaking up against this, so I think that this is a good start.
Yeah.
I think that's what you and I were talking about before, is like at least it brings it to attention.
Yeah, it's like if we would have done this last year, this interview about fires, we would have been talking about climate change. This year, though, these fires are very much, political origins or people driven. Both the Amazon fires and the Siberian fires are people driven.
Yeah.
And because it's really not an abnormal climate year this year. So that's the difference this year. And it's good that we're seeing the protests and people banding together, trying to call out government. It's like this was preventable.
So tell us a little bit about the effects. Obviously, it would be devastating. But what would be the overall effects if we lost a big chunk of the Amazon rainforest? You were telling me something very interesting about our air quality. Do you want to tell everybody about that?
Well, the rainforest is, it's very stable on its own if we leave it alone. But if we start cutting it down, it's going to take decades for it to come back. It's not like if you remove, I live in Canada, so if you remove a forest around here, you can plant it and you can get a forest back within 20 years or so. You're going to have decent trees. But in the rainforest, this isn't the case. It's very weak soil nutritionally, and if you remove it, it's probably going to turn into a grassland. I've seen that. Scientists come on and say that if you remove another 15 to 20% of the rainforest, that the Brazil and its surrounding countries are going to turn into grasslands. And this is going to have a huge impact on the amount of air that gets recycled every year, because the rainforest recycles a lot of oxygen, cleaning the air and removing pollutants and keeping a lot of the carbon as well, the carbon sequestered from the atmosphere within the rainforest. So it's like what we call a carbon sink in science, where it's not in the atmosphere causing more global warming. Okay, it's in plants. It's like sequestered, and but if we remove that, it's going to cause potentially a lot of warming and total change in the ecosystem in South America, and probably globally.
Definitely. And is there a way to contain these fires? I heard just recently, I think yesterday, they sent the Brazil army, which is a little too late in my opinion, but they were sending the army, I think, over there now to try to stop the fires. Is there a way that you see that this is going to be contained in the next, few weeks, or?
Well, it's the dry season, so unless it starts raining, I've seen some reports where it did rain a little bit yesterday. That will help, but containment is what you got to do is get out there with shovels and and clear away any fuel ahead of the fire. That's how you contain it. So it's like you build like a barrier. You know, you remove all the trees, you remove all the wood and you know, anything. You go out there with rakes and shovels and you clear, you know, probably a kilometer wide path or something ahead of the fire and hope that it doesn't jump it. Like if you get winds, it'll blow right over and burn what you just cleared. So it's hopefully the winds stay down and that they get a little more rain. Hopefully the army that he sent, you know, we really want this to end. So hopefully they're successful and get this cleared so they can at least contain it so it'll eventually burn itself out. But there's many fires. Last I saw there was 75,000 fires, individual fires. I don't know if they're all active. I think some of those have since burned out, but so that's a lot of containing that's got to be done.
And that's around the world, all those fires you were?
No, the 75,000 just in South America.
Unbelievable.
Like I say, I think that's like total since the dry season began, like back in June or so. So it's 75,000. So some of those are probably out, but that's how many there's been total. I'm not sure how many are active now, but there's, you know, probably 30,000 or so. That's a lot.
And that's not including the ones that are around the world, like in Africa.
Oh no, there's fires, Siberia. Like I mentioned to you before, there's an area the size of Belgium that's actively burning. And Belgium, yeah, it's a small country, but you know that's a lot of area that's on fire, and that's not counting what's been burned. And there's fires in Canary Islands and Indonesia, a few other places. England had a lot of fires back in February and March.
Would you say that those are natural causes, or are those also illegal logging and things like that, the deforestation?
I took some time the other day and researched some of them. The Canary Islands one, for instance, was totally accidental. It was started by a welder, like a 55-year-old welder or something like that, that just accidentally started a fire. And it's been so dry there because the Canary Islands, they're near Africa, and there's these heat, dry trade winds that blow off Africa, so it's just dried it out, and you have an inferno like within hours. But that was, you know, a lightning strike could have done that. So and that's how many fires are caused.
I'm not laughing, but that's why Rivendell, when Tolkien wrote about his forge, the Elvish forge, it was not inside of a forest or not anywhere near trees. It was in a stone gained area in Rivendell.
We should learn from that.
It's the wise thing to do, right?
Yeah, so I don't understand the exact circumstances, so I don't, you know, that wasn't political or anything, but you know, the Siberian fires though are more political, and the Brazilian fires, of course, we just discussed. So, but like the ones in England, I think were climate driven because it was a very dry winter, very warm in Europe.
I'm gonna say it because I'm just gonna be very honest on my channel always. I would hate for this to be part of the depopulation agendas that a lot of people have, thinking that in some way that they could get rid of a lot of, you know, nature and our pure air supply, that eventually it would also cause less humans. I really hope that it's not part of the agenda, because it just seems that I don't know, my Elven sense is going off, and I just feel like there's a little suspicion kind of brewing up within me, and I just feel that, like you said, a lot of it is greed, and also part of greed is the human depopulation idea. I mean, I have heard very wealthy, very wealthy and very well connected humans talk about other humans as if they were just ants to get rid of, we just need to depopulate because they're concerned about overpopulation. But there's always other ways to contain and to live in a world in which our population is growing. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the lifestyle changes that we can all do. I found this really great website, and then you can kind of comment on it and just give your expertise opinion. And here is 7 steps that you can take. So the first one they say is reduce your paper and your wood consumption. So buy more bamboo products, try to reduce using paper and wood, because that's the supply and demand. That's what's causing all these illegal logging, companies to come in and to cut down forests. So watch what you're doing with using wood and paper. Number 2 is reduce oil consumption. So I have not driven a car in over, I would say, like 10 years. I got rid of my car because I lived in a city, and so I can just take a bus everywhere and a train everywhere.
I've owned a car since 2005.
Yeah. I mean, I have my husband, we do drive, but not often at all. And I myself have not driven a car. I don't even have a license. I just use my my passport to get into places, because I just haven't had to, get my passport, my license redone, because I haven't really used a car. But yeah, reducing oil consumption in any kind of way. It says the burning of oil, gas, and coal is the primary cause of climate change, and also the deforestation. And also they're calling it land fracking, like where they're basically just tearing up the land to build the pipes. Is that what they're doing too?
So they're cracking the bedrock to get at the oil reserves and pump out more oil. You can get every last drop, every last penny. That's what fracking's all about.
Yeah,
and it's very destructive, and it pollutes the aquifers, so you're going to get tainted drinking water.
And it's not like a simple tube. Like, they actually have to clear the whole land to put these tubes in, right? It's not. I mean, they have to clear a whole area. It's not like they can go through land in a kind of like an inconspicuous way and like hide the tubes. They actually have to bulldoze all these trees. And that was the whole thing with Dakota Pipeline. A lot of the natives that were living around that area in Dakota, they were so upset because it was sacred ground, and a lot of their ancestral spirits and just having that deep nature connection really bothered them. So it said, yes, reduce your oil consumption is one, because then these companies will lose money and they won't really have to. I'm all about kind of trying to bankrupt these companies in a way. Like, I mean, we can't make everybody not use some of these resources, but the less that you use, the less that they will feel that they have to produce. The other thing I learned about the Brazilian fires is that they are cutting down trees in order to make room for livestock. So it's really an area for
the primary objective is for ranching, because like I said, the soil is really not very productive for crops, although they do try to grow palm oil and soy. But yeah, ranching is number 1, and probably mining is number 2.
So that's also saying reduce your beef consumption. So now is the time to really think about it, because these cows and these animals that people are eating, they have to have land. And so part of deforestation is happening because of this large amount of beef consumption that is happening. So they're saying reduce that. Also, hold businesses accountable. corporations need to know that the public will hold them accountable for business practices that are socially or environmentally destructive, like the illegal logging. One of the things that concerns me about doing that is that they don't replenish trees afterwards, because a lot of these companies that have license to cut down trees, they also have partnerships to replenish trees, because they have this more transparency, and the environmental and the nonprofit organizations, they work with them at times to replenish. But when you have the illegal logging, there is no replenishment happening. They're just coming in like thieves in the night, cutting down. It reminds me of the Ents in J.R.R. Tolkien stories, where the Ents talk about how the dwarves came in with their axes one day and just chopped all the trees down, and there's no replenishment. So it's really terrible what's going on. There needs to be more of this transparency. We need to find out who are these companies that are coming in like these thieves and are cutting down the trees. I hope the governments take a look at the companies and catch them in the acts. I would say that it wouldn't take too much, because you have a huge truck, you have guys with a bunch of saws, they're probably not running very fast. So I don't really know why they're not being held accountable.
Well, they're probably getting some under the table money, where from some, I don't know. I don't know how it works, but it happens a lot, particularly with, like I was mentioning earlier, with rosewood, teak, and mahogany. If you buy mahogany furniture, make sure that it's legal or ethically, it's those kind of woods are they're very valuable, and those are the ones that are often illegally logged. So they go in and get a bunch of mahogany or something and then run, and then sell it.
And you said in Africa that was happening mostly, right?
Yeah, East Africa and Southeast Asia are the two big places for the illegal logging for those kind of woods. Really expensive, beautiful woods that sell for a lot, and they're illegally logged, and I'm not sure. Of course, there's probably no replanting or anything. And the government just kind of turns a blind eye to it because they're probably getting some under the table. That's corruption.
It is.
So
it is. That's why I am okay with the idea of having. I know some people are afraid of, like, the idea of having kind of a central government system, but if we had wise leaders in charge that were more transparent with their dealings, then this is what would never happen, because those people would be always indebted in service to the people, and they would never have these illegal type of greedy transactions happening. And when you have all these world governments all over the place, you cannot keep track of all of the disastrous type of actions towards nature. So I guess that's why I'm all for having a wise council in charge of everything, and to represent all different types of governments and countries coming together, kind of like the UN, but maybe a little bit different. But that's just some future visions that I can have.
Yeah.
But I just think that, like you said, it's really about the human greed. And they're not thinking about the long-term effects of their actions, because they have to breathe the same air, and they have to live in the same environment. And I just keep on thinking that these people they either don't want to be educated, or they just don't care, or they do know what they're doing and they still don't care, and it's sad.
I'd say it's probably profit, money. They probably know what they're doing. And that's the sad thing. It's like nature takes a hit, and it's difficult to protect because a lot of it's in these countries that are corrupted, and what little resources they have aren't towards environmental protection.
Yeah.
And
We're
so
called
they just
spiritually.
have to allow it.
Yeah. Well, we're called spiritually to make better choices now. And I mean, I think we're getting to the age where we can't make those decisions anymore, those greedy decisions, because nature is being affected so much that eventually it's going to affect everyone. And that's the sad thing. But it says here, I wanted to read more here. It said, if you feel that a company's business practices are environmentally irresponsible, send the company a letter expressing your concern, or organize a boycott of the company. So find out the companies that are doing these types of damage to the environment and to the forests, and don't buy any of their goods.
That's probably,
Yeah. I mean, we really have to have like a worldwide boycott on these companies. So I'm going to find out who are these Brazilian companies that are cutting down the Amazon.
yeah.
And if they're, the sad thing is that a lot of those companies are also connected to America, Nestle and
Oh,
all.
I'm sure they are.
Yeah. So we just need to find out what are those major corporations and companies that are hiring these people to cut down the forest, and we'll boycott. I'll make a list and I'll send it on my page, and together we can make a difference, all of us, just not buying those products at all. And I think that that's the only thing we can do. It says, write a letter expressing your concern. And it says also, it also says that you can talk to your local government, but I would say try to go more personally to the company. But even if you don't want to talk to the company, just simply don't buy the products anymore.
I mean, that's where it's going to hurt them the most if they're not making money.
So I have one company I would like to put the name out there. It's Boise, Boise, sells wood products from the world's most endangered forests, including the tropical rainforest of Amazon, Southeast Asia, and the temperate rainforest of Chile. Boise is the country's largest logger of U.S. public lands. Please ask Boise to phase out its logging and distribution of old growth wood. So then that's where it's saying, and also Citigroup is a key financial player in many of the world's most destructive projects, including construction of the Chad Cameroon oil pipeline in Africa, and the replacement of orangutan habitat with palm plantations in Indonesia. So Citibank credit card. So even it extends even past wood products.
Yeah.
It's large corporations, and such as a financial corporation, Citibank. So it's called the Citigroup. So yes, Citigroup and Boise, there you go. Those are two corporations we can start boycotting now. The other thing it says is invest in rainforest communities. So find a way that you can help buy an acre. There's buy an acre program. You can also donate to One Tree Planted. I know that they're in the Amazon and they're planting. They're a nonprofit organization. But there's a lot of different types of organizations that work with the Amazon and work with other forests as well, because it's important. And then it says, support the grassroots. So in 1999, Home Depot, the single largest retailer of lumber in the world, agreed to phase out its sales of old growth wood. The victory was a direct result of the hard work of grassroots activists who staged more than 600 demonstrations at Home Depot stores across the US and Canada. That's nice. Good job. Bravo. So when you support the grassroots, the Green Party, those kinds of organizations in your hometown or in your state, that's really that really can make an impact. And the seventh thing it says is support Rainforest Action Network. It's an effective, hard-hitting organization. In 1985, Rainforest Action Network launched a nationwide boycott of Burger King, which was importing cheap beef from tropical rainforest countries. Well, there you go. So Burger King is another one. Everyone boycott. Burger King is the one where they're cutting down the land in order to farm those cows that they use for those burgers. It says here, 2 years later, Burger King canceled $35 million worth of beef contracts and agreed to stop importing beef from the rainforest. See, I get that, but then you hear about these illegal logging. So you wonder, were they really canceled? You know, is this, I guess we would have to be like detectives and look a little bit deeper into it. But
Yeah.
so those are some of the things you could do. Also, what I'm doing too, everyone, is I am becoming a minimalist as much as I can. And minimalism is something I'll talk about on my channel because I've been reading a lot about it. I've been kind of tapping into, you know, my kind of original nature and just getting less things in the house, donating. And what I like about it, and I was telling Uranian, is that once you get rid of everything, it's like it changes you and you no longer want to overconsume. You don't want to buy anything to, you know, replace. You feel more at peace. And that's kind of where I'm going because I'm just feeling like I just want less clutter in the house, and I'm really excited to do that. And I think that that kind of lifestyle change with everybody, that will lead to less consumption, less wood and paper buying, you know, less buying in general. That leads to landfill waste and things like that. And you know, all of this is going to really improve the condition of our nature because nature's ecosystems, they can well balance themselves, but if human consumption and human neglect is throwing off the balance, then nature has to work doubly hard. And nature really reflects human nature. It reflects us. So that balance is really needed in nature. And Gandhi said the best quote ever, the idea that, you know, nature is what we're doing to the forests is really what we're doing to ourselves. The cutting down of trees illegally, not replenishing, in a lot of ways, it reflects what a lot of people are doing to themselves spiritually, cutting themselves off spiritually, getting too deep into materialism and consumerism, technology, and forgetting about, you know, their roots and what's really important. And we just want to make sure that we awaken as many nature lovers as we can to help together, because, you know, Earth is not over yet. And I think that we still have a chance to change things around. What would you say about the science on that? You think we can change things around?
I think we can. Well, we have to. If we remove much more of the rainforest, it's not going to be good. We really need to turn this around, and waking people up is, you know, great. It has to be done. We can turn it around. It's going to require technology. They are doing some pretty amazing things, researching these devices that can pull carbon out of the atmosphere and store it. So they're kind of still getting the bugs out of them, but it's on the horizon. So I think if we can somehow just limit our consumption now, you know, put a cap on it, and just say, you know, we're going to walk more, bike more, eat less meat, eat less crops that give off a lot of emissions, and then we put this technology in place, and then I think we can turn it around, and it'll be a wonderful world when we do that.
I think so too. I believe there's always hope. And I believe that while we're still here, we need to live every day like it's the last on Earth, and, you know, put our efforts in the best way that we can. And together, our energy, it recreates a reality. I mean, we learn in the quantum physics, you know, world, the idea that we have many, many choices of where our future goes, because we have many possibilities of what we can take. And a lot of it has to do with our perception, but a lot of it has to do with our actions that then create our perceptions of reality around us. So by being an active participant in helping nature, we will heal nature. We will strike that balance again, because that's what's actually going to fuel the new perception of reality, is our action and taking charge in that way. We cannot sit back and just think good thoughts, because this is a world of both spirit and materialism. And so it takes a balance. It's your spirit, your mind, and it's your hands, and it's your actions, your everyday actions that you do. And then that is what actually changes the perception of reality. And I guess that's why I've been working hard to put out these videos, because I feel like this is what's kind of putting a little bit of an enchantment or spell out there, but also just kind of fueling that new perception of what the future can look like if more and more of us could, awaken to, just taking everything in our own hands and not relying on the corporations to do it, because unfortunately
they're not going to.
Yeah.
They get a major government incentive to do so.
Because you have to be awakened to do it. And I don't think that these individuals are. Because part of the spiritual awakening is also to say no to materialism in a way, like where you have this nice balance. And I feel like the people that are not spiritually awakened to themselves as spiritual beings, to the interconnection, to everything, to nature, to each other, it is because they are so distracted by the material world.
Yeah.
They can't think about anything else. Their minds is on the money and on their cars and on their homes. They're not thinking about the spiritual connection to nature or anything, because it's like their focus. And our lives work like a little bit like a camera. We're ultimate observers in each of our lives. And when your focus is on one thing, that's your perception, that's your reality. The moment you shift your focus to more spiritual, more spiritual matters, more things that you don't have to buy to be happy, that's when your focus starts changing. And they're just not there yet. So we need to be that example for everyone. So everybody watching, we're creating this reality because we cannot wait for these people to do it.
Yeah. It's going to require, what do they call it, numbers game. The more people we wake up and, connect to the spiritual paths, and it's like reducing consumption. Well, it's like when I was growing up, we had the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, recycle. And I'd say those still hold true today. Practicing that, and as well as focusing on the spiritual aspect as well. Meditations and prayer, and just connecting ourselves with nature.
And when we talk about connecting ourselves to nature, you and I are doing something where, I have the Elven Spiritual Path group, and you have the Guardians of Earth group. And what we do is we take pictures of nature when we go outside.
Yeah, I just put a bunch of flower pictures on there today. So,
and it's funny because when you just simply take your time in nature to appreciate the beauty that surrounds you with the flowers and the trees and the animals, that is reconnecting to nature. That is you forgetting about your technology. I mean, you're using your phone to take a picture, but I'm not using my phone for anything other than to appreciate and to show nature to others and to inspire them in some kind of way. And I feel like if people loved nature more, because you can actually walk this earth. I have seen people, I know people personally, you can walk this earth and not take any notice of nature around you. But when you
A lot of
focus
people
on
do. They
nature,
just don't see it.
when you focus on the magnificence, the mystery, the beauty, the amazing elements of nature, that is you putting your love back into nature, and that energetic type of focus onto nature, nature responds. You know, it flourishes in that area that you live at when you're appreciating it. You can see. I have fairy rings. I have mushroom fairy rings around my neighborhood that weren't there before, but it's because I walk down that street all the time and I'm loving everything around me and appreciating it so much that I believe that these mushrooms, these fairy rings have like popped up in that response. And that's really how we manifest an abundance of nature, is when we show it love, we show it appreciation, and really that's all we ask, is the reconnection to nature, to think about nature, be conscientious of the plastic that you're throwing away, that what you said takes 500 years to
Oh, yeah.
actually, right?
Well, and it never dissolves. Plastic, it just becomes smaller and smaller plastic. It never dissolves.
I'm just changing everything over to glass so that I can keep it and never have to throw things away,
Yeah.
because I'm tired of all this garbage sitting on our landfills. And a lot of the deforestation is happening because they're trying to make room for the landfills too. So, I mean, it's all about really just when we lessen our consumption, when we love nature, when we
Yeah.
put our energy towards nature, this is where we start to change this type of this sad kind of negative look right now on nature. But I think that with enough people, we can actually improve it. You know, we can change a lot of things. Like I said, there's always hope, and you said that we still have time. So, but you know, prepare yourself spiritually, mentally, physically, in any way that you can, because after this Amazon fire and all the other fires in the world, because of the increase this year, I heard it was 80% from last year, right? It's like a lot.
In the Amazon, it's 80%
Yeah.
more. It's almost double what it was last year.
It's going to change Earth in a lot of ways. And some of the resources that we've been taken advantage of are not going to be there. And so it's almost like a way of forcing humans to change their ways. But if you can do it in a way that you're prepared for it, then it doesn't come as a shock and it's not scary, because you accept it. You're moving in flow with this kind of story of the world that's happening. So that's all I have to say, is just prepare spiritually, mentally, physically for Earth changes, because they're happening and they're going to require humans to change their ways of doing things. And if you're prepared, then it's not going to be a shock to you and it's not going to be scary.
Just do it now. I mean, be ready, or just do it now. Why not?
Yeah, just do it now.
It'll be helpful. It'll help the Earth.
Absolutely. Okay, let's see if we have any questions for you. So I have lots of comments here. Oh, there's more. Oh, there's some comments on fish. Well, we are over consuming on fish too, right? Would you say that the fish?
Oh, well, yeah.
Eat it?
Yeah. The sea is very, it's in very bad shape. Not only with pollution, but with what they call ocean acidification. Because we've been putting more carbon into the atmosphere, the ocean chemistry is changing, and the fish are changing, and not only that, you have pollution, microplastics going into the fish, and simply overfishing. So fish are heavily, they're under a lot of stress right now, and so if you're trying to eat naturally grown fish, of course you can buy fish that's been grown in I'm not sure what they call them, like a fish farm, but yeah, the oceans are very sick, and it's a result of what we're doing on land.
Yeah, in the bamboo video, there was the hydroponic farm,
Yeah.
where they have the fish fertilizing the vegetables and the plants. And I thought that was really great. And we can
Yeah.
probably do more of that in the future, and that would be wonderful. But yeah, watch your consumption on fish too, I would say. I have a really great comment here. Sometimes it's destruction that brings us together.
Yeah.
Trav
That happened this year.
And that's exactly it. You know what I feel is happening? If any of you have watched the movie Arrival with the aliens, as when they come and they kind of forced humanity to work together to put like this puzzle piece together, I almost feel like these fires in a lot of way are that, because the world governments, if these fires do not stop, the world governments are going to have to come together in some form.
Yeah. It's going to be the topic of the G8 meeting.
Yeah, because we cannot have them keep on going, because eventually they're going to spread, and they're going to keep on spreading. So in a lot of ways, this destruction probably is a way of having all of us come together. I mean, I see videos across YouTube where it's people from all over the place, and they're coming together on this one idea: save the rainforest, save all the forests that are being taken by these illegal fires that have been started. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I don't want to look at it as completely a negative that we're not in control of, because we have a collective consciousness that we're all part of, and we're taking on roles and positions within this story, and we're managing our own parts within it. And it seems that our collective is moving towards a different type of world together. And part of the disasters that are happening, part of the depopulation agendas and things like that, that's kind of underground with politics, it's also coming out to the surface so that we can get rid of that, so that we can start new and fresh and have something that we've never had before, or that we've had maybe in another lifetime or another universe, but something that we can have together that will be a different type of future than what was planned by unconscious humans. So we have more of this consciousness and this awareness coming forward. And I think that that's really the only way that we can change everything. So yeah, I definitely think that we are going to, I think that we're going to come together in a lot of ways. I already see it happening. So yeah, like I said, like the banner says, lifestyle changes can help the earth.
Yes.
That's really the only thing that we can individually do, is just take responsibility for ourselves, and of course speak out against the corporations that are doing this. I know that I'm not going to buy Boise. I'm not going to touch those types of products. And if I can find more information on some of the companies that might be part of this illegal logging and these fires that are happening in Brazil, I will definitely share it. I will definitely share it on my page. And I think that that's all I need to say. Is there anything that you want to leave off with, Uranian?
I would, just try to avoid the things that they're growing in the rainforest. Palm oil, especially, it's awful for the environment. As a vegetarian, it's like palm oil is a substitute, but just try to avoid it, or don't eat it.
Yeah, use olive oil. You don't need palm.
Look at the ingredients. If it's got palm oil in there, it's coming from the rainforest, because that's where they farm it.
Yeah, you want olive oil from the Middle East. If you can, that's the best type of olive oil.
and just we like what Kimberell said. We have to integrate the material and the spiritual, and that's how we change our lifestyles to help the earth.
Yeah. And I can't tell for sure when I'm doing it because I'm still getting rid of things, but I will definitely be doing a video because I did an Elven house tour before and I had a lot of stuff. And so now I'm paring down and getting to have less clothes, less everything. So I'm hoping to do another Elven house tour because one of the things that really always just touched me so much was Lothlorien and then Rivendell with Lord of the Rings. When he described the way that the elves lived, they lived very simply.
Yeah.
Had beautiful designs, but they lived very simply. They didn't have a bunch of stuff. They weren't hoarders. They didn't have an overconsumption of things. They had their necessities and they were beautifully crafted, and that's it. And that's how I really want to live.
They spent their time telling stories. Like my favorite part of the entire Lord of the Rings is the Hall of Fire scene in the Merry Meetings chapter,
Yes.
where they just go and sit in that room where Frodo meets Bilbo, and they sing songs. They sing songs to Elbereth, and that's what they do. There's nothing really. You don't need a lot of material for that, and it was the most memorable. It's my favorite part.
Even the hobbits in the Shire, they didn't live with a lot of stuff. I mean, they were known, they didn't have the type of magical kind of craftsmanship that the elves had, but they didn't have like an overabundance, although there were some remarks like, when did your doilies become so important to you? It seemed like the hobbits,
that was in the movie.
did like some stuff, but the elves were a little bit more. I think that the elves actually represent minimalism. I think that they represent that type of spirit that humans are moving into, where we're going to have beautifully made things, more quality, but less quantity. And I think that that's the future. And I'm excited for that. I think that would be nice. And that's what I'm trying to do with my house because the clutter is driving me crazy. I don't want to do so much laundry. I don't want to clean the house all the time. I want less things so I can enjoy my life.
Yeah, and it comes down to like, how much do you use it? I mean, do you use it? If you haven't used it in a year, get rid of it.
No, I just end up dusting it. I mean, I'm getting rid of
nice things, like little decorative things. Yeah, but other things that are more utility items. I don't know. You have to clean.
Yeah, I'm getting rid of a lot of my books, a lot of crystals, because I collected so many things over my life, and I'm so happy to be finally getting rid of it. And I think that's an act of participation in the earth changes, and I'm happy to go on that journey, and I hope other people walk that path with me, and we'll see. Hopefully I finish up. I dropped off like 8 boxes to the homeless shelters today of like stuff. So I'm getting rid of a lot. So we'll see. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining in, everyone. Hananle, and peace, love, light, and unity to all. Only the best thoughts going out towards all those that are affected by the forest fires and the rainforest fires right now. And your thoughts are with us. Those of you who are in Brazil and are surrounded by this right now, we're thinking about you, and we hold your hand into this walk into this future. Like I said, just prepare yourself every day just for some big earth changes, but I think that in a way they can be positive for humanity in a lot of ways. They might be scary, but I think in some ways they might be positive because it will force people to change in a lot of ways. So, okay, Marie, and thank you all for joining.
Marie.